This is the final day of our Utah Backcountry Discovery Route trip, day 7, and it's going to be a long one. We're leaving camp here in Soapstone Basin, and from this point it's going to be a steady push north towards Evanston, Wyoming. Let's take a look at the plan for our last segment of the BDR. From camp, we'll wind north on about 10 miles of forest road before we reach SR 150, the Mirror Lake Highway, the highest paved road in Utah, climbing towards Ball Mountain Overlook at around 10,500 feet. Our route will then take us from Bald Mountain and Pass Lake onto dirt track again through hills and meadows for roughly 35 miles before the Wyoming border. And from the state line, another 26 brings us to Evanston, where we'll wrap up the route, grab a finale lunch, and head our separate ways. The group back to Southern California and me towards Phoenix. Today is mostly easy miles, alpine lakes, glacial terrain, high meadows, and long stretches of forest road. A good way to finish the trail. Leaving camp this morning, you can feel the end of the trip settling in. There's a mix of satisfaction and honest fatigue. We'd agreed we'd finish the BDR in Evanston instead of continuing towards Idaho. After a full week on the trail, that feels like the right call. As we continue north, the terrain starts showing the deeper history of the Utahs. This is one of the few major mountain ranges in North America that runs east to west. The rock here began as seafloor sediment nearly 700 million years ago, hardened by pressure and uplifted long before the Rockies formed. During the last ice age, glaciers filled these pockets. They carved cirques, smoothed back walls, and left behind boulder fields and moraines that we're weaving through now. A lot of the rounded stones in these meadows were pushed here by ice that melted away thousands of years ago. These forests have a long history of use. Before the Forest Service ever mapped these valleys, Ute families traveled through here seasonally, following game and moving between winter and summer grounds. The forest roads came later, of course, in the early 1900s, built for timber surveys, grazing access, and fire patrol. About 10 miles from camp, the dirt road opens us onto SR 150. From here, the Mirror Lake Highway climbs steadily, winding north on the highest paved road in Utah. This stretch of highway also carries its own history. Much of the early grading and stonework was done by the Civilian Conservation Corps in the 1930s. CCC crews carved the initial road beds, set the culverts, and opened this high corridor across the Uintas. Up here now, the wind coming over the pass and the lake still holding open water. It's a good place to pause and to take in the high country.
So there in front of you is above the tree line, huh?
We're at 10,500, that's wild. About 12,000, you think, for the tree line? 11,500?
38 degrees.
This road is gorgeous. Up here at over 10,500 feet, the tree line isn't far above us and the high country is already shifting towards winter. This whole area sits in a glacial basin shaped by alpine ice, a history shown in the cirque walls and smoothed out peaks around us. We reach Bald Mountain and pull off at Pass Lake. Even now in late September, the air has a bite to it. October can bring snow and these lakes often freeze around the edges before the month is out. By midwinter, this whole area can sit behind 15 to 20 feet of snow. Beyond Bald Mountain, the highway holds its elevation. We turn off again at Whitney Reserve and return to dirt, steady meandering track through spruce pockets, open flats, and clear little streams. These meadows stay wet well into summer, fed by snowmelt drainage from the high ridges. Indigenous travelers once used this route seasonally. Later, ranchers and sheep herders followed the same corridors as they moved through the mountains.
Mr. Hunter. And I have never in my life ever seen so many hunters in one area. This reminds me of the Armor Cave man, where the one with the Fanny were there shooting it.
Eventually, we clear the forest, reaching Chalk Creek Road. The landscape opens into wide, rolling hills. To our left, down near the creek bottom, a herd of antelope is grazing.
Check out on the left, there's a big giant deer sitting off to the left, and then there's a big herd right in the middle. Slow down right where you're at.
They blend in at first, moving slowly, almost unnoticed. For a moment, the whole scene is a soft safari feel, open country, animals doing what animals do, and us passing through quietly. Then, one antelope lifts its head, looks our way, and the rest follow. In a heartbeat, the herd shifts, pivots, and darts across the flats. Fast, effortless, and they're gone almost as soon as they appeared. Crossing from Utah to Wyoming is barely more than a cattle guard at the state line. We continue north on Chalk Creek Road, which carries us past the Kern River gas facility, part of a pipeline network that spans several western states. There, we air down. Our time on the trail is done, and we return to the pavement. Finishing the last part of Utah over there, and now we're in Wyoming, airing up, and final 30-mile, 20-mile push stand. Yellow Creek Road guides us through even more ranch land and scattered homes. The terrain smooths out, the road straightens. We're creekside now, and soon Evanston, Wyoming comes into view. We roll into Evanston around midday. Evanston is a snapshot in time in many ways. The brick storefronts and rail lines feel like a different world. Evanston grew up around the Union Pacific Railroad in the 1870s, becoming a major service stop in the transcontinental line. Steam locomotives paused here for water, fuel, and repairs, and for years, the yard was one of the busiest spots between Omaha and Sacramento. The old roundhouse and machine shop still stand, heavy masonry buildings that kept the railroad moving through some of the harshest winters in the West. Over time, the rail operations scaled back, but the bones of that history remain. We find a quirky steakhouse for our finale lunch, a simple way to mark the end of a once-in-a-lifetime trip. Good food, a chance to decompress, and a way to close out the miles. Evanston feels like the right place to end the Utah BDR for us. We raise a glass to the route, the company, and to our friend Ron Channels. As part of his Offroad Overland camping group, he planned much of this trip before passing away earlier this year. We were lucky to share the trail with him. May he rest in peace. From here, the road splits. The rest of the group heads south towards Southern California, and me south to Phoenix. Spend the next 14 hours driving from Evanston to Phoenix with 2 good breaks in Page and Flagstaff. If you like this video, please give it a good thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks for watching.